Let's go ahead and bring in ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmire. Brian, it is good to see you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so Diddy's lawyers are getting ready to cross-examine Mia again. What do you expect to see there?
I think more of the same. What we're seeing here is not a confrontation of the direct allegations that she made of sexual assault, forced labor, even rape as well. But instead, they're trying to juxtapose that relationship with social media. She's saying that, okay, on Sean Combs' birthday, he sexually assaulted her, but 2 or 3 days later, she's in a photo with Sean Combs on her own personal social media talking about the great times and how he's a mentor and all these other positive things. And the argument I think they're trying to make is, if this person was so horrible to you, why are you doing this? Now, of course, we've heard from Dr. Hughes, a sex trauma expert, that explains some of this, but they're still trying to make the argument of maybe it didn't happen or it didn't happen the way you're articulating based on your social media and your reactions thereafter.
And Brian, you've been inside the courtroom. What has this former assistant's temperament been like as she's faced these very difficult questions?
I would say for 95% of it, meek, timid, small, both in the way that she presents herself. Oftentimes, even when she's speaking in direct examination, she's looking straight down, never really looking at the people that's asking her questions. The other 5% of the time I think is somewhat interesting is when she reads some of those text messages, especially text messages between friends like D-Rock, one of Sean Combs' assistant. She gets a little bubbly, I think, remembering some of the good times, because throughout her testimony, she said, when the highs were high, they were great. But when the lows were lows, it was very difficult, and those lows are what these allegations are stemming from.
And there is so much more to be seen in that case. But Brian, we want to ask you about another high-profile case on our radar, and that is the Karen Reed trial. She's accused of killing her then police officer boyfriend back in 2022. She's pleaded not guilty of that trial. Now in the hands of the defense, what kind of testimony could we be in for? And if I'm not mistaken, it's the defense that has a former juror from her first trial working with them, right?
That is right, because don't forget the first set of jurors, that was a hung jury. Well, bit of an argument, though, as to whether or not they decided not guilty on some, but still facing all of the trial charges. Here, I think it's going to be a battle of the experts, and a very, very technical one, that is. On Friday, they put on some of their first witnesses, and with an engineer who is a reconstruction expert of that crash. And we're talking about the differences of little milliseconds, where, well, did the accident happen at 12:32 and 09 milliseconds, or was it 12:32 and 29 milliseconds? We're really getting down to the nitty-gritty here, but we may see witnesses who testified in the first trial, but not the second trial. Former officer Michael Proctor was not a witness by the prosecution in this trial, as he was in the first one. Maybe the defense calls him. But also there's the question of whether or not Karen Reed takes this stand. I think the major difference there being a lot of her interviews and docuseries have been played in this trial. I think on the steps of the courthouse she said TBD as to whether or not she'll testify, but it's her right to do so. She may or may not.
Well, on that point, she didn't testify in that first trial, but now you're saying she potentially could. Could this help her? What do you think?
So she could always testify. It is everyone's constitutional right to plead the fifth and not testify, or get up there and testify. And I think what's unique about this second trial is, again, because a lot of her interviews were played in the trial, she might want to get up there and set the record straight in a way that she didn't in the first trial. She might say, okay, when I was talking about this in this interview, I was simply opining. I wasn't saying what I did or didn't do. But this is very much a case of the government hasn't proven their case. The prosecution hasn't met their burden, but also to some degree, maybe she's innocent based on just the science of it all. Her testimony, her intent, her thought may not be the key to this case for the defense, but maybe she sees it differently.
Yeah, two very big cases. We always appreciate your analysis. Thank you, Brian.
My pleasure.